Good day, everyone. Welcome to the continuation of Module 7, which talks about climate change phenomenon. I am Mom Angel Ogamil. You can call me Mom Angel, and I will be one of your pre-service teacher for this subject. But before we will start, let me say sorry in advance or paumanhin kapag may naririnig kayong mga maiingay sa paligid kasi malapit lang kami sa daan at saka maraming mga hayop dito sa paligid. Okay? Now, let's start. So, both international and national made initiatives to respond the climate change or to the climate change. But first, we will talk about the international initiatives to respond to climate change. So first we have First World Climate Conference that was happened in the year 1997. So these urged governments to identify and prevent human-induced climate changes that are harmful to humanity and diversity. Then we have in the year 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, was signed by countries. So the main objective of this one is to stabilize the greenhouse gases concentration in the atmosphere. Then in year 1998, establishment of the Intergovernment Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, in the year 1998. So the result of the first assessment report showed that the world is indeed getting warmer. So with that, it emphasized the need for strong policy action and economically accepted steps to reduce the effects of global warming. Then, in 2005, Kyoto Protocol took effect. So this protocol is bound developed to reduce their greenhouse gases emissions at an average of 5.2% below the 1990 levels for the commitment period of 2008 to 2012. So only developed countries are required to reduce emissions because in the past or historically, they have the most contribution to the greenhouse gases concentrations in the atmosphere. Then in year 2015, this is the adoption of the Paris Agreement. So the member nations agreed to strengthen the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping the increase of global average temperature to well below 2000 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. And those rather are the initiatives that has been done internationally. Now let's go to the initiatives that has been done in our by our country, which is the Philippines. Okay, first we have establishment of the Interagency Committee on Climate Change, or the IACCC, that was happened in the year 1991. So the main task of this one is to coordinate various activities and provide technical support on climate change issues. So through this one, the National Action Plan on Climate Change was completed in the year 1997. So the plan aims to integrate climate change concerns in the development plan of government agencies. Then in the year 1992 and 1994, the Philippines signed the UNFCCC, which is the main objective again to this one, is to stabilize the greenhouse gases concentration in the atmosphere. Then in the year 1998, the Philippines signed the Kyoto Protocol, which is also part of which also talks about the reduce of greenhouse gases, right? Then in the year 2003, the Philippines ratified the Kyoto Protocol. What do you mean by ratified? So ratified means that official valid. Okay, so they officially validated the Kyoto Protocol here in the Philippines. Then, on year 2009, um, the Republic Act 9729, or the Climate Change Act of 2009, was passed. So, what is this act all about? So, this act is mainstreaming climate change into government policy formulations, establishing the framework strategy on program climate change, and creating the Climate Change Commission. Then in the year 2010, the Philippine Strategy on Climate Change Adaptation was formulated. So this consolidate efforts of the national government, advocacy groups, and local governments in climate change adaptation in 9 major sectors. We have the agriculture, biodiversity, coastal and marine, fishery, water, health, energy, and lastly, infrastructure. So those are the 9 major sectors. Then also, in the same year, the National Framework Strategy on Climate Change 2010 to 2022 was adopted. So this provided the guiding principles in the formulation of the national and subnational development planning process. Then lastly, in the year 2011, the National Climate Change Action Plan 2011 to 2028 was formulated. So this is the country's agenda for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation that will be discussed later on. And also prioritize food security, water sufficiency, ecosystem, and environmental stability, human security, climate smart industries and services, sustainable energy, and capacity development. Okay, so as you can see, no, both of international and national have done to respond to address the climate change, and also local communities and we people contributed to. So there are two approaches that we have done or contributed. So these approaches are the climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. So for you to understand well the differences of these two, let me emphasize or give you a simplest explanation to these two. So first we have the climate change mitigation. So this is taking actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and slow down climate change. While the climate change adaptation is making adjustments to cope with the impacts of climate change and become more resilient to its effects. Again, what are the two approaches? We have the climate change mitigation and the climate change adaptation. The mitigation is taking actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, while the adaptation is making adjustments to cope with the impacts of climate change that is already exist or will still occur in the future, and it will become more resilient to its effect. So, in the climate change mitigation, we can reduce greenhouse gases by doing this low carbon diet. So, what are the tips of this low carbon diet? So, this is the tips on how to have a low carbon diet in greenhouse gas. First, we have use compact fluorescent lamps or CFLs instead of incandescent bulbs. So they consume 70 to 80% less energy, and it could last to 8 to 13 times more than incandescent bulbs. Then next, we have observe the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's again? It is the reuse, reduce, and recycle. Okay. And then we have to buy energy efficient appliances. So these appliances consume less energy but has the same task no sa inyunyuhang original appliances. And next we have the walk, bike, or carpool. Instead of having individual transportations or using to just use it na malapit lang. So why not walk or bike, right? To lessen the carbon greenhouse gases. And also patronize mass transportation such as the MRT and LRT, and turn off lights and appliances when not in use. Unplug cellular phone chargers when the battery is fully charged. And lastly, conserve water. So I hope those tips that we have discussed is you are still practicing to those one. Okay. We have already discussed, or we have learned this one when we are still young, right? 3 R's, how to save energy, still the same one. No, so I hope you have learned from me, from my discussion about the international and national initiatives, and also the approaches that we have done to reduce to reduce or to address climate change. And I guess that would be all. Thank you for listening and watching to this video. And you will now proceed to the last part of this discussion, that it will be discussed by Ma'am Lara. Again, thank you and have a good day.